Hey, and welcome to Open, the show opening the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Brittany Aubain, covering for Darren Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, September is National Falls Prevention Awareness Month, and we'll share a few tips for keeping elders in the community safe all year long. Next, we'll explore generational money habits and their impact on the debt cycle. We will have more details later on in the show. Then we'll discuss food insecurity among the elderly and how one organization aims to address it. Finally, international trips are on the rise this year, and we'll talk about the growing interest in Italy as a travel destination. So stay tuned, all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hey everyone, I'm Brittany Aubain, and you are now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on throughout this past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. We begin with developments in transportation news. Transportation Alternatives recently launched a groundbreaking public dashboard to track severe car crashes in New York City. From January 2022 to June 2023, over 4,000 individuals suffered grave injuries in these incidents, including pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. These serious injuries encompass life-altering harms such as limb loss, organ damage, and lifelong disabilities. The data exposes a troubling statistic. Serious injury crashes in the Bronx are 23% higher per capita than any other part of the city. Districts 8, 14, and 17 rank among the top 5 city council districts with the most serious injuries. Additionally, crashes are 21% more prevalent in districts with a higher number of residents living below the poverty line. The organization contends that implementing bike lanes, bus lanes, and pedestrian plazas can be instrumental in preventing serious injury crashes. In other news, the Kingsbridge Armory recently received funding for its redevelopment. Our BronxNet reporter Kyrie Moody has the details.
The Kingsbridge Armory has been laying dormant for nearly 30 years. However, recently, this sleeping giant received $200 million from the mayor and governor for its redevelopment.
You come up with a plan based on what the community wants, and we'll put the money there. That's what the state can do. We can help realize dreams by writing a big check.
This 5-acre, over 100 years old military base is the largest in the world. It was used for film sets, boxing matches, and exhibits.
The community asked for it, and we listened, and now we're delivering. Kingsbridge Armory has the possibility of becoming a beacon of employment, entrepreneurship, and opportunity.
Nathan Gray is the vice president of the Neighborhood Strategies Department of the Economics Development Corporation. He shared his reaction to the big announcement.
Excitement, possibility, opportunity, hope. I think this building has all of those things, and the $200 million will really bring it one step closer to making this project a reality.
For some, it's excitement. For others, such as the vendors and the surrounding community, it's worrying.
They're not doing nothing for the community. You could see how is the environment around here, how people are dying over these drugs, fentanyl stuff. Instead of the mayor investing all this money, he should be investing this money in the community for all this drug addiction that we got laying around in the floor and on the train station.
They're gonna bring the immigrant people who coming from outside to stay inside. I'm not against those people, but what happened with the people here, the residents of the Bronx, people who have a citizenship here, paying taxes, and no opportunity?
Wilfred Perdomo has been a resident of Kingsbridge for nearly 50 years and a vendor for several. He also worked in the World Trade Center and says that after 9/11, things in life went downhill.
This I do it because I need to eat. I need to survive. you know, and this is the best idea for this place, for the Bronx.
Wilfred hopes to get a job inside the Armory once the redevelopment is complete by any means necessary.
I hope I could get a job, a position. Even I could be sweeping, cleaning, doing whatever could be done.
Together for Kingsbridge is a group whose vision is to see the Armory become an active landmark in the community. To see our previous stories on the Kingsbridge Armory, visit our website at www.bronxnet.org. Reporting for BronxNet, Kyrie Moody.
Thanks, Kyrie. The Bronx has the highest rate of food insecurity at 19.7%, and food insecurity is a significant factor in developing eating disorders like a binge eating disorder. So, how exactly are they related, and what can the community do to help? We were able to sit down with several representatives to discuss more. By the end of the hour, one more person will lose their life to an eating disorder. Studies show that 28 million Americans will suffer from an eating disorder in their lifetime, which was the case for Sierra Calicut, whose time as a dancer, combined with the pressure of ideal beauty standards, served as a catalyst for an eating disorder.
Having an eating disorder in my teens is something that affects me even in recovery as an adult in terms of my physical and my mental health.
According to experts from the American Psychiatric Association, an eating disorder is a behavioral condition characterized by severe and persistent disturbance in eating behaviors and causes distressing thoughts and emotions.
Their relationship with food and or body is really impairing their ability to be really engaging with life.
An eating disorder doesn't discriminate who it impacts. In fact, it affects way beyond the stereotype of a thin, cis white woman. However, many factors can cause eating disorders, including food insecurity. Currently, the Bronx sees the highest rate of food insecurity at 19.7%. Now, how exactly does this lead to disorders like binge eating disorder and bulimia nervosa, more commonly known as the binge and purge?
Particularly with intermittent access, may lead to the expectation from your entire body and mind that when it is available, you should consume as much as possible.
Although not always highlighted due to stigma, eating disorders are severe, and the Alliance for Eating Disorders says eating disorders are only second to opioid overdose when it comes to the deadliest mental illness. The biggest obstacle in treating these disorders? Awareness and accessibility.
We really have to make strides on this systemic level through advocacy. I know we work with the Eating Disorder Coalition to try to make changes at a legislative level.
Calicut mentions she was able to seek help at her higher education institution, but that's not always feasible, especially for those in low-income communities.
I think there's tons of barriers to recovery.
Looking toward the future of eating disorder recovery, organizations like the Alliance are working to provide free resources to help those suffering seek care in hopes that every hour, one person will take their life back. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Aubain. That's all for the Bronx updates. We had to take a quick break, but we'll have more open when we return.
We all know what it's like to feel alone. But it just takes one new connection. Want to get out of here? To empower many.
This is unbelievable.
It doesn't take a superhero to bring forces together. We all have the power to reach out.
Let's go!
And help someone feel like they belong.
Pretty cool, huh?
We are stronger together.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Thank you for staying with us. September is National Falls Prevention Awareness Month. With fall officially in swing now, we wanted to take a closer look at a few tips for keeping elders in the community safe on their feet all year long. Often underreported, falls are a leading cause of injury-related hospitalization for older adults in the New York area. In the Bronx alone, thousands find themselves in this predicament annually. Here to share more about preventing falls in and around your home is the Associate Director of Rehab Services at VNS Health, Allison Sims. Allison, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So to start off, can you just tell me a little bit about why should older adults and their families be concerned about falls, and what are the common reasons for underreporting them?
So, great question. Uh, Falls are extremely common as we age. Losing your balance is something that can occur easily. And especially if you're not able to break your fall and catch yourself, it can be extremely embarrassing for the older population. Uh, Sometimes reasons why we fall and falls are underreported is because many older adults feel like they're going to lose their independence and will not be able to age in place in the home environment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you just mentioned, I can imagine as we age, it's not always easy to admit that, sometimes we might need help. So, can you discuss a little bit about the importance of asking for help as we age and how this can impact the mindset of fall prevention?
It's really important as older adults that we identify and acknowledge the signs of losing your balance or weakness. Something as simple as just reaching for a toothbrush so that you can do that daily task of brushing your teeth. Uh, Something as simple as just trying to put your shoes on and you're finding difficulty with putting your shoes on because your balance is off. Older adults, it's very common. As we age, we're all going to get weaker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the normal process of life. And it's important that we all identify with that process. As older adults, I always say, leaves are supposed to fall, not older adults. And it's really important because falls can, at 1 in 5 falls can actually lead to serious injuries such as a broken bone. You can have a head injury. You can have a really bad cut or laceration. And that can also be life threatening and lead to losing more independence. Within 24 hours of a fall, it's really important that that individual reaches out to their physician and let their physician know that they had a fall so that they can rule out any injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And falls, like we just mentioned, are quite common, especially as we age. So, what are some effective ways to reduce the chances of a fall happening in the first place?
So, very simple tips that we all can use to prevent a fall is one, if you feel like you're losing your balance, have a discussion with your doctor
Mm-hmm.
because many times you may be on some medications and that's the side effect. You feel a little dizzy, or you feel your balance is off. Um, Sometimes the medications, that side effect can occur gradually, and sometimes it can be a sudden onset that you just feel dizzy and loss of balance. So having a discussion with your physician to make sure your medications is at the right dosage
Mm-hmm.
really is crucial. Other important things is just staying active. Moving around is really important and it's very simple to do. Another thing is our clothing. As we age, sometimes we tend to lose a little bit of weight because our appetite is suppressed. So the amount of food that we consume is not as what it used to be. So we lose some weight. And our clothing becomes a little bit more loose fitting. And as simple as it may sound, we trip over our own clothing.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that you have your clothing and it's fitting properly, you have it tailored. If it's too big, to make sure that it's fitting properly. And shoes. It's really important that you wear close fitted shoes with a non skid bottom so that when you can have that friction when you're hitting the ground so that you don't feel unsteady on your feet. Those are some simple tips that we can use to prevent a fall.
Thank you for mentioning that. And my next question was actually about the shoes, just some examples of what shoes older adults should wear to reduce the risk of falling. In a way, would you recommend maybe orthopedic shoes, or is this something that you can just get, a regular pair of sneakers as long as they have the elements that you mentioned?
Right, as long as they have the elements that I mentioned,
Hmm.
that's fine. Lace-up shoes is better. Even the Velcro straps is okay. Just making sure that the bottom is a non-skid bottom is important. We don't have to buy expensive fancy shoes. Just making sure that it has those elements will really keep you steady on your feet.
Thank you for mentioning that. And with that, many people also believe that expensive exercise equipment or gym memberships are necessary for fall prevention. Can you elaborate on how everyday items at the home can be used effectively to improve strength and balance?
Yeah, physical activity is really important, and we can be very creative. It doesn't require us to go to a gym. One simple task I always encourage is just a simple walk. Getting up, walking daily is really important for maintaining your muscle strength and your overall balance. Another thing is if you feel like you need to strengthen up your arms, go into your kitchen, look in your closet, your pantry, grab a can or two, and start moving your arms. Go up and down, out to the side, bend your elbows up and down, and do a few repetitions. Right there, you have a strengthening exercise program that can help to keep you stronger. Another thing is clutter, right? That's an exercise in itself. Cleaning your home and making sure that different aspects of the home and domains in the home are clean, that can be an exercise in itself.
Hmm.
So we don't need to go to the gym to be physically fit.
Thank you for mentioning that. I think it's so important because a lot of times people do feel like, they don't, like you mentioned, it's expensive and they might not have the funds, but also, they don't have the time to maybe go take a Pilates class or a CrossFit class or classes that are, an hour, 2 hours long. So just doing maybe something as simple as 5 minutes a day makes a great impact. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And then, as you mentioned, for clutter, that's something that, as you mentioned, as you pick up, that can also be a form of exercise. But, for some people who live in small apartments or homes with clutter, what are some steps that they can take to make sure that their living space are safer and reduce the risk of falls?
Yes. As we age in place in our home, we are all guilty of accumulating personable items to us, but sometimes those items actually are causing clutter. So it's really important that in the home, you make sure that you have a clear, free pathway to walk. Try to get rid of the clutter. And our PTs and OTs, when we go into the home, we do these safety home assessments and we look out for these things. One, the throw rugs. Throw rugs are very dangerous and they can actually cause slips and trips and falls in the home. So we make sure that we remove the throw rugs. And then the cords you may have in the home, making sure that the cords are aligned against the wall or taped and securely fastened against the wall so that you don't trip and fall over it. Also, light,
Hmm.
making sure that different rooms within the home is lit sufficiently. The illumination of the room will actually help to guide you when you are walking from different areas in the home. So making sure you have sufficient light in your bathroom, bedroom, kitchen. Sometimes having a little light in the hallway can actually help to prevent falls. Other things is that sometimes our therapists will have to go into the home because you need a little extra help to make sure you're safe in the home.
Hmm.
And that's like durable medical equipment. And some of those items would be maybe a grab bar and having a grab bar in the bathroom so that when you're transferring in and out of the tub can make you much more safer. And sometimes when you're in that shower, a shower chair may be beneficial so you're in a stabilized surface while you're completing your bathing task. And lastly but not least, our bed. Sometimes the bed is too high and it's difficult to get in and out of the bed. So a very simple way of reducing the fall is making sure your bed is at a sufficient height so you're able to get in and out of it.
Allison, I feel like in this short amount of time, we've learned so much vital information. So thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome and have a wonderful day. If by any chance a patient or an individual feels that they're at risk for falls, it's important that you speak to your provider. If you're interested in having an assessment completed by the PT and OT here at Vision and Health. And our contact number is 1-800-675-0391. But again, always speak to your provider if you are experiencing loss of balance or if you even had a slip, trip, or fall.
Allison, thank you so much. For more information, you can visit their website at vnshealth.org. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
My character, Shazam, knows all about growing up in a family full of teenage superheroes. They're bold.
Where's everyone going?
To fight crime?
Okay. Adventurous. Shazam! There's never a dull moment. And no matter what happens, they'll always have your back. All they need is a place to grow and be themselves. And the best part is, you don't have to be a superhero to adopt a teen. Learn more about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about poor Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
Welcome back. With interest rates skyrocketing and outstanding revolving debt reaching $1 trillion this year, money management and debt have become hot topics. But do they impact everyone equally? Here to talk about the generational differences in money habits and their impacts, as well as how you can achieve a healthier financial future, is National Debt Relief's Natalia Brown and Dasha Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So to start off, Natalia, you recently conducted a national survey to have a deeper understanding of the impact of bad money habits across generations. Can you share some of the findings?
Oh, absolutely. Dasha and I are really excited to have this conversation with you. We wanted to have a better understanding of generational differences and the impact it had on people and their money habits. So we found some really interesting things, but the big takeaway was it confirmed that we need more actionable tools so that people can help change their behaviors across all generations. Over 60% of people admitted to making poor decisions when it came to money, and 42% said they were going through current financial struggles. On the flip side, the majority of people claim that they have at least some information about how to develop better money habits, but over 50% of those people haven't incorporated them. Generationally, millennials seem to be more self-aware and responsible of their financial actions, with 71% owning up to their habits, and 45% of them were equipped with information that they use to create better financial habits through books, influencers, podcasts, and apps. And they were more actively using that knowledge. It's way more for that one particular generation. So National Debt Relief, our mission is to make sure people are not just handling their immediate debt, but we want to make sure that there's behavioral change that contributes to people building a more secure financial future for themselves and their families.
And you know, beyond the common bad money habits you have identified, have there been any surprising or less obvious financial behaviors that your research uncovered?
Dasha? Yes. So in the survey, in National Debt Relief Survey, some of the most common bad money habits were writing off small purchases as insignificant. And these are small purchases that usually go unnoticed, like vending machine fees, last minute grabs at the checkout line, and unused subscriptions and membership services. Gambling was also something that came up, which doesn't necessarily mean casinos. It could mean something like buying lottery tickets, which most people think is insignificant because of the price, but it adds up very quickly. Using credit cards was also one. Using credit cards to pay bills, it can be troublesome if you're using them without a plan to pay off the balance in full. And these habits contribute to the cycle of debt because they create a pattern of financial instability and reliance on credit to maintain possibly a certain lifestyle or cover unexpected or unnecessary expenses. Over time, the interest and the fees add up, making it very challenging to break free from this cycle.
I feel everything you're saying. I am guilty of like those little purchases here and there that, like you said, you think they don't add up. You think a $5 coffee here, $5 coffee, then it's like, wow, at the end of the month, I spent like $50 on coffee. So it is a lot, you know? So with that, what are the most common money habits that seem to transcend generations, and how do these habits contribute to a cycle of debt?
Just going back to what we actually said in the survey, it called out writing off small purchases, gambling, lottery tickets. All of them contribute to the ongoing cycle of debt. So that was some things that really came up. Those are some habits that transcend between generations.
And you know, also the survey revealed that 65% of millennials and Gen Zers are worried about baby boomers' impact on their financial future. Could you delve a little deeper into these concerns and shed light on how intergenerational financial decisions may affect the younger generations?
Yes, so there are a ton of factors that play into that. When we think of the financial advice that transcends between different generations, there are different conversations happening because we were faced with different financial problems from one generation to next. But when we consider the cycle that we would need to break when it comes to debt, I definitely believe that it requires a conscious effort for us to change some of these habits. This can involve creating a budget, reducing unnecessary expenses, building an emergency fund, seeking financial education, and making a commitment for us to live within our means. And although we are having different conversations, we got some great advice from the older generations to the younger generations. For example, 61% of the baby boomers that took the survey, they recommended that the younger generations create an emergency savings fund, and 53% recommended that we save and invest. So although we have been faced with different financial issues because of our different generations, we were able to get some great advice from the older generations to the much younger.
Absolutely. And Dasha, as the founder of the Broke Black Girl, you have been instrumental in promoting financial education and equity. So how can initiatives like yours contribute to bridging the gap between generations and fostering a more secure financial future for all?
Yes, I think that it's important that as a younger generation that we make sure that our financial issues that we are experiencing, that we are seen and that we are heard. I think that it is impossible for us to be having the right conversations. So many times the advice can seem generic or it can close out certain conversations. And I think that it is important for the younger generation to lead conversations about what we are actually experiencing with our finances.
And, you know, we want to get as much information as possible from this conversation. So I'm going to ask both of you to share some tips on how to cope and overcome financial debt.
Oh, sure. So the first step, really, like Dasha said, is make a conscious effort to, understand your financial situation. I'm a millennial myself, so I understand sometimes it might be scary to get a full picture, but you have to start somewhere. So get the balances, get the interest rates, find out what the minimum monthly payments are. And if it feels overwhelming, it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes we feel shame behind that, but that we don't have to. You might want to get some advice from a reputable debt settlement company or from a financial advisor. I would always say do your research before you engage with anyone and make sure that they're accredited and they will actually help you with throughout your journey. For National Debt Relief, we focus on affordable monthly payments, deposits, and we focus on speed. So paying that minimum balance will take years and years and years. We try to get our clients out of debt between 24 and 48 months, and we are a community. We have a huge support and client community where you can actually have conversations, just like Dasha said, it takes a whole village sometimes to make sure that you're supported. And then once you have that plan, whatever the plan is, you have to stay committed. It won't work if you kind of fall off or you do it here and there. It's okay. Sometimes you might find challenges, you might be discouraged, but I say progress is slow. It does take time to create habits. The habits don't develop themselves overnight. They won't be undone overnight. So just stay motivated and try to celebrate your achievements. And that doesn't have to cost anything. It might be a walk in the park or jumping up and down, whatever it might be, spending some time with some friends, but do recognize that progress is progress.
Absolutely. Dasha?
Yeah, so to add to that, I'll definitely say develop a realistic monthly budget that outlines your income and your expenses. This will help you identify areas where you can cut back on spending and possibly allocate that money towards debt repayment. There are so many apps out here that exist to help you budget, track spending, and set up automatic savings goals. Live below your means if possible, which will allow you to save. This can look like waiting for sales for large purchases, negotiating prices, budgeting in funds so that you can avoid overspending or canceling out any memberships that you don't use. And lastly, find ways to keep yourself accountable. This could look like joining financial communities online and support groups, or even finding an accountability partner, someone who you share some of the same goals with. This can be a very powerful way to help you stay on track with your financial goals.
I want to thank both of you so much for taking the time out for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having us.
For more information, you can visit their website at nationaldebtrelief.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill?
No.
You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kids should know.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
Analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I am more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
Welcome back. Hunger Action Month is an annual nationwide campaign happening each September to raise awareness about hunger in America and inspire action. For over 4 decades, Citymeals on Wheels has been a vital force in fighting hunger among this often overlooked and vulnerable population, elderly individuals confined to their homes. Joining us today is the Director of Policy Advocacy at Citymeals on Wheels, Jeanette Estima. Jeanette, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So just to begin, can you tell us a little bit more about Hunger Action Month and its significance in raising awareness about hunger in America, especially in the elderly population?
Yeah, thank you for highlighting this because we often will talk about how hunger impacts older adults, but it impacts our meal recipients in a different way, in part because the food programs that exist across the city for people who are facing hunger is they're not available, they're not accessible to our meal recipients. Our meal recipients are they are unable to increase their incomes, right? They're living on fixed incomes, and they are often, they have health issues, they have mobility issues that keep them from, for example, going to a food pantry or standing online at a soup kitchen. So we often think of them as the hidden hungry because they are facing food insecurity at a high rate. It's up to 12% now. And we know that they are not as visible as others because they are often at home and have a hard time leaving their homes to access food.
Right. And in the context of Hunger Action Month, why is food insecurity among the elderly such a pressing issue, especially in a post-pandemic era?
Because food, as we know, is so important to maintaining good health. And in addition, just having it's healthy food and it's the right amount of food, right? This is how we manage conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and these are very common conditions for older adults. So if we really want to help support older adults and aging in place, we really need to make sure that they're getting the right amount and the right kinds of food.
Yeah, absolutely. And so speaking of, Citymeals on Wheels has been combating elder hunger for over 40 years. So could you share some insights into how the organization approaches the issue?
Sure. So Citymeals was founded to fill a gap in the city's home delivered meal program. The city has a program that operates 5 days a week on weekdays. And Citymeals raises funds to ensure that older adults are also receiving a meal on weekends and holidays. And we're also an emergency food responder because, again, if you are trying to get food to people in an emergency, you need to take it to them. This is something that we have been doing for a long time. We have a warehouse in the South Bronx where we have, 10,000 meals ready to go in the case of an emergency, and we can pack up many, many more when things get really, really bad.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And so with that, what makes Citymeals on Wheels unique in its effort to tackle the problem of what you call the hidden hungry among the elderly population?
Well, I think that this model is one that is so important because we are not only ensuring that people are getting a nutritious meal every day, but we are taking it right to them, which is something that no other program does, at least not across the city. We work with about 30 community-based providers to help us get to people that are in need. So we are able to bring food directly to people, which is exactly what they need. And we're able to do this in a variety of ways because we also understand that the needs vary according to different populations. So we can work with these community providers to understand, what is it that this person needs and how can we help them get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as you mentioned, you take the food to them, which is something that not a lot of other agencies do, if not any. So with the growing challenges posed by extreme weather and heat, how does Citymeals on Wheels ensure the safety and well-being of the homebound and elderly who may face additional risks?
Sure. One of the important things that we do is that in addition to serving as an emergency responder in the moment when an emergency strikes, and it these days so many times is climate related, right? It's a big storm or excessive heat, power outages, right, that are often caused by these. We are able to respond in those moments, but we also pre-supply our meal recipients. And what that means is that, a couple of times a year we will send out boxes with additional meals so that they have something in their pantry. If that day's meal delivery gets delayed or if it just can't happen due to other issues during a storm, for example, they should have some meals on hand because we provide them in advance.
Okay, so in a way, do you kind of like maybe over deliver or send earlier or?
So we try to do this in advance of the seasons, right? So we have, something in the fall and that prepares people for the winter, and then also in preparing people for the summer when there could be power outages, when everyone's running their AC, for example. Yeah.
And speaking of, it's impressive that Citymeals on Wheels last year alone delivered 2 million meals to nearly 22,000 older New Yorkers last year. So can you describe the impact that these meals have on the recipients' lives?
Right, they have a huge impact. We know that about 92% of meal recipients say that these meals allow them to remain in their homes. They allow them to age in place. You know, it's so important because food is critical, right? Everybody needs to eat every day. But not being able to prepare your own meals or go to the grocery store and carry your groceries up 3 flights of stairs, that's not a big enough issue to require someone to be placed in a nursing home, for example. Right. So this is a very strong and simple community-based solution that really allows people to remain in their communities as long as it's safe for them to do so.
You know, I like that you brought up that point because sometimes, you know, like we mentioned that the elderly sometimes aren't acknowledged or looked over. And so with that, like you said, some of them, it's not necessary to maybe go to a nursing home. So then what do you do with that common medium that it's like, okay, they're not in a nursing home, but they also aren't able to, you know, go out every single day and stand in line and go to the grocery stores. So I think that's really, really important that you mentioned that. And so New York City's older population is expected to grow significantly by 2040. So how does Citymeals plan to adapt and continue its mission to end elder hunger in the face of this demographic change?
Right. So we are looking at really understanding the wide variety of needs for older adults. You know, we serve people over 60. We have 400 meal recipients that are over 100 years old. This is a 40-year lifespan. That means that their needs will change, and they're going to be different at 60 than they are at 80, than they are at 100. So we really are working to understand that and think about the different ways that we can serve them. We have some supplemental programs like a mobile food pantry or a fresh produce program that helps people to get these different items of food. It adds variety to their meals, and it also acknowledges that, you know, some days you're able to make some food on your own, some days you're not, and it's good to have that meal come prepared to your door. And of course, we're also just always searching for more funding because as the number of people needing meals increases, and, you know, we have seen that over the pandemic. You know, before the pandemic, we were serving 18,000 people. So 22,000 is a huge increase in a short number of years. And of course, food costs have gone up. Yep. So we're in need of additional funding. I think the whole program has been historically underfunded and really needs to keep pace with this growth.
Absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about your recipients. And, you know, food insecurity is a constant threat for many seniors. So can you elaborate on the specific challenges faced by the meal recipients, such as chronic disabilities, age demographic poverty rates?
Right. So we know that about 30% of our meal recipients are living under the poverty line. Many more are perhaps above the poverty line, but still unable to reliably purchase their own food. You know, this is one of the reasons why this is such a critical program for addressing food insecurity. For others, it's, you know, more that they have physical limitations, right? Maybe arthritis in their hands makes it hard to open food, makes it hard to chop vegetables and cook them. You know, vertigo and or other mobility issues can make it really hard to stand by your stove or otherwise prepare your meal. So these are some of the reasons why we know that people are in need of a home-delivered meal that is prepared and ready to eat.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, can you just tell us a little bit about what communities can do to support Hunger Action Month and organizations like Citymeals on Wheels?
Yeah. I always want people to start local, right? Check in on your neighbors. Ask them how they're doing. What do they need? Do they need anything? Maybe let them know that there is a program through which they can get some free meals delivered to their door. If an older adult believes that they could use this service, then they can call 311, and they can be connected to a case management agency that will assess them for the program. They can always also visit our website and be connected in that way.
Awesome. Jeanette, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
For more information, you can visit their website at citymeals.org and follow them on Instagram and Twitter at citymeals. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Is it time yet?
It's time.
Come start time for dinner.
Oh, terrific.
Pasta dinner.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Welcome back. International travel is booming this year, and Italy is a top choice, especially during the summer. Last year, Italy welcomed 50 million visitors, including 5 million to the Amalfi Coast. With Italy's rising popularity, how can travelers maximize their experience, especially in lesser-known regions? Here to tell us more is the president-owner of Perillo Tours, Italy travel company, Steve Perillo. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Brittany. Buongiorno. We say buongiorno in the morning.
So, you know Italy better than any other travel expert. What is your favorite hidden gem in Italy?
It's probably, it's not a very hidden gem. It's Naples, Brittany, because Americans don't go to Naples for some reason. And I love it because it's what Americans, when you think of Italy, you're thinking of Naples. The red tomato sauce, pizza, mozzarella, talking with your hands. That's all Neapolitan. All those Italian songs, the Pavarotti, all his songs were Neapolitan. So all of our idea of spaghetti and meatballs, they don't have that in, but if they did, it would come from Naples. So I think people should visit it. Plus you get amazing Capri when you visit Naples. It's right across the bay, and Sorrento's right down the street. Pompeii is one of the most amazing places in the world, ancient city, and Amalfi is right down. So I'm pushing for Naples. I think people should consider that. Besides Rome, Florence, and Venice.
Yeah, absolutely. And Italy is a country with so much to offer. What's the best way to create an unforgettable trip through Italy, especially for travelers looking to explore beyond the usual tourist spots?
Now, the situation changes. Now we're in a post-pandemic travel world where things are very crowded. In fact, I should tell your viewers that September is the peak month for visiting Italy. So you should consider avoiding September. Like right now, today, if you go to the Colosseum, there'll be a long line. But if you go November 2nd, there's nobody there at all. So consider going in the off-season. That'll make life a lot easier, a lot cheaper all around. And then use a travel professional if you can, a travel agent or a tour operator. We're actually from the Bronx, we were on 3rd Avenue and 178th Street from 1945 to 1975, all those years. So I would say to use a tour operator, and the main reason you use them is because if something goes wrong, that's when it really comes helpful. When you book something on Expedia, it's hard to call Expedia and say, I don't like my hotel room. It's not going to be many people to respond back. So that's why I recommend using a professional service to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who love Italian food, what is the best way to experience Italy's cuisine authentically? And are there any lesser-known culinary delights that travelers should seek out?
In Italy, because Italy was separate countries until 1860, so they have separate cuisines, all the different areas. So that's the way to go. In America, you eat the same food all over to some extent, but in Italy, it's quite varied. Like red tomato sauce, that doesn't really exist in the north, and truffle sauce doesn't exist in the south. But the best way to get a good meal is to specifically avoid the tourist places. They're very convenient because they're right there. If you go to the Coliseum, there'll be a pizzeria right there. But you'll pay $40 for a pizza, and all the waiters speak English. All the tourists are around you. So if you go behind that restaurant a block or two, you'll find where the locals go. And the thing about Italy is when you walk into a restaurant like that, they see you're American and they help you. They're very, very, very nice to Americans. Italians love Americans. Maybe it's a little different in Paris, but in Rome, man, walk into any place, small town, they'll take care of you. So that's how to get a cheaper meal and a better meal. Plus wine. You get a bottle of wine and it's like €5. That's $6.
That's not bad.
Right.
Okay, so Italy has a rich history and culture. So can you recommend some under the radar, lesser known destinations where travelers can immerse themselves in Italy's history and culture?
There's one little one, Brittany, that I really like. There's 99 others of these small villages that no one's ever heard of that are just amazing. One is called Matera. You should look it up online. It's in the south of Italy, Matera, Matera. And it's built on a giant limestone rock, giant. And it was one of the first towns on Earth, 12,000 years ago, a civilized town, but the people lived in caves. And they lived in caves until 1952, if you could imagine. People living in caves, but you can still visit them, these old caves with the beds and the little kitchens. You know, in the 50s, it was a modern society, but they were still living in caves. But they cleaned them all out, and now you can also stay in a cave hotel. There's a couple of them. And the Matera is just a gorgeous, old city. It's so old that Mel Gibson used it for the Passion of the Christ because it looks older than Jerusalem. They used it in Ben-Hur because it looks older than ancient Rome. It's just an amazing. I'm naming one place, Matera, but there's 100 others like that. And that's what's fascinating about Italy.
Absolutely. And in recent years, we've seen a surge in international travel, including to Italy. So could you share some of your insights on the growing interest in Italy as a travel destination and how travelers can make the most of their experience, especially in lesser known regions?
Could you repeat that, please?
So in recent years, we've seen a surge in international travel, including to Italy. So could you share your insights on the growing interest in Italy as a travel destination and how travelers can make the most of their experience in lesser known regions?
Yeah, Italy has been in the top 3 world and European destinations for 50 years, Brittany. It's just got everything. And like I said, people have this Neapolitan impression of Italy. So if you go, you'll see it's part Naples, but part other things. But I'm really advising, because it is so popular, to go in the off-season. And I would say you can buy a $300 coat and save $3,000 by traveling in November, December, January. And the weather's beautiful. It's cool and sunny at that time of year. So I recommend that. Italy's very busy, so you gotta be careful.
Absolutely. And so also Italy has diverse landscapes and attractions which cater to a wide range of budgets. So what advice do you have for travelers seeking different levels of luxury and affordability in their Italian vacations?
Use a professional. You're not going to be able to do that on your own. Call Perillo Tours or call your favorite travel advisor who's an expert in Italy. Because there's everything. You got to decide what you want to do. Most people want to be in a cheaper hotel but downtown than an expensive hotel farther out of town. So I would take that trade-off anytime. But a 4-star hotel downtown, now the prices have gone up to $400 or $500 a night. So another way to go is villa rentals in Tuscany or Umbria or Puglia, and villa rentals are extremely good value. 1,500 euros or $1,600, you can get a 3-room villa. You house 6 people for a week there. The value is unbelievable. And those are 2 ways to go about saving some money.
That sounds amazing. And so also, when you're traveling, language and communication can be a concern in certain parts of Italy. So how can travelers overcome language barriers, especially when venturing into southern Italy or smaller villages?
That's right. Southern Italy and smaller villages, they speak less English. But they still know more English than you know Italian. Believe me, every Italian. In Italy, if you're an Italian person, after Italian culture, American culture is your number 2 culture. It's true for other countries in the world, but especially Italy. I feel like they're like our little brother in that way. Also, there's new apps on your phone that are truly amazing. And within a year, they're live. They can listen to the speaker and play it back in your ear, the translation. It's a little slow now, but within a year or 2, it's going to be automatic translation. The world's changing hugely in that regard. We're all going to be talking to each other in our own languages. It might change the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as we kind of come to the end of this interview, with the rise of online travel booking platforms, tell me a little bit about what sets your company apart from other options, and how does it help travelers create customized itineraries?
We have a booking system for Italy only, and it's called ItalyVacations.com. ItalyVacations.com. But I still feel like you need the assistance of a human being, and that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you go to the big websites like Expedia, it's a little harder to put the whole trip together, because they can do hotels and air, but to do train tickets and combine cities. And when you get off the train, you need a ride from the train station to the hotel. All those little things, it's very unusual to find that online. But we offer that. We offer that to locals on ItalyVacations.com, or just come to locals.com. But online is getting better and better. With AI, it's really going to be a game changer in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And Steve, I want to thank you so much for taking the time for speaking with us today.
Thank you, Brittany. It's been fun. Thank you.
For more information, you can visit their website at perillotours.com and follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Perillo Italy Vacation. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all our guests for joining, and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast on Optimum Channel 67, Verizon Fios 2133, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. This wraps up this episode for us. I'm Brittany Skylar Aubain. Make sure to keep this channel wide open. Take care.